Welcome to No Paint, No Gains, I'm Ray. In this episode, I draw inspiration from an old love of mine, World of Warcraft, to paint this miniature in a color scheme inspired by the Blood Elf Heritage armor. This is Qulathis. She's an Elven archer from the Cursed City Boxset that I've had built for some time, but haven't painted. Why, you might ask? Because the hobby isn't about painting miniatures. It's about collecting an absurd amount of models that you tell yourself you're going to paint and play with, but instead hide from your wife so she doesn't find out how much money you spend on plastic.
Did you buy more minis?
Nope. An alternative reason could be that you simply don't know how you want to paint something. It's easy enough to look at the box art or online for color scheme ideas, but sometimes you want something different. In my case, something different would be to actually plan out how I want to paint something. Usually I sit down and grab whatever paints I think might look good and hope things turn out well. And while this might work out most of the time, it does extend the amount of time it takes to finish a project by quite a bit. That's why for this project, I'm going to establish a set color scheme and paint plan before I even sit down to paint. The only problem is I don't want to paint her in the stereotypical green armor in which all Elven archers seem to be portrayed. Luckily for me, I've been feeling very nostalgic lately. I have a close group of friends who I play online games with. And while lately we all seem to be interested in playing different games, we all share one game in which we poured an embarrassing amount of time into: World of Warcraft. We would spend countless hours grinding away dailies, dungeons, raids, and arenas, just having a blast. And it's this trip down memory lane that inspired my palette choice for this model: Blood Elves. Blood Elves in WoW have a very clean and elegant aesthetic. Devoid of the greens and browns of traditional elves, their look is curated with a lot of reds, oranges, gold, and black. So with that in mind, let's break down how I plan to go about this paint job. I'll be using red for the quiver, skirt, chest, legs, arms, face mask, and hair ties, black for the boots, underskirt, and belt, gold for the antlers, bow, and armor trimmings, white for the fur, blonde for the hair, orange for the plates dangling down the front, a fair color for the skin tone, and any wooden bits will be painted brown. Since I'm starting from a black undercoat, I need to start basing with my darkest recess color to achieve decent coverage. Thus, I'll be mixing some Mephiston red with black to create a dark burgundy that will serve as my base color and darkest shadows. I'll apply this to all the previously aforementioned areas that I plan on being red. With the base color established, I moved on to highlights. Since the quiver and skirt share the same cross patterns, I decided to highlight them the same. I did a 3-step progression, going from Evil Sunz Scarlet to Troll Slayer Orange to Fire Dragon Bright. At this point, I think it's important for me to mention that you do not have to use these paints specifically. Any similar color will achieve a comparable result. I use these paints because it's what I have available to me. Regardless, I will be providing a list of all the paints I use in the description below, so check that out if you're curious. With the skirt and quiver complete, I moved on to all the red armor on the body. For this, I applied a few thin layers of Evil Sunz Scarlet to build up what would eventually be my midtone. I then mixed in a bit of white and applied this mix to the areas where light would be more prominent. I also watered down some Carroburg Crimson and applied it as a glaze to all the recessed areas to increase the shadows further. Carroburg Crimson has a slight purple tone to it, which I think looks really good as a recessed color. For the white fur, I started with a base coat of Celestra Gray. I mixed in some white and started to highlight all the upper portions of the fur, making sure to leave the Celestra Gray in all the recesses. I didn't feel like this had enough contrast, so I went back and used some pure white to enhance the raised areas more and mixed in a bit of ash gray to the recesses to increase the contrast. The boots, belt, and underskirt were repainted in matte black and highlighted using some Necromancer Cloak and ash gray. I didn't spend too much time on these areas as they make up a small percentage of the miniature, and I don't really want to draw much attention to them anyways. I'll briefly mention the armor plating that hangs from her midsection. I decided to go with an orange color, but wasn't sure with how orange to go. I struggled with this step, and ultimately ended up settling on what you see out of frustration. I think every project has something like this, where you're not sure what to do about a certain part and just find yourself going nowhere. I've come to the conclusion that if I find myself in these situations, it's best for me to leave it as is and come back to it later instead of getting overwhelmed with frustration. When it came to the skin, I had a much easier time painting than I normally do. Since I'm still fairly new to the hobby, I struggle with female skin tones, But luckily for me, one of my favorite miniature painting YouTubers, Scott over on Miniac, recently put out a video where he repainted a Sister of Battle whose face turned out not as well as he had hoped. In his recent video, he shared some great advice that he received from a fellow painter, Kat Martin, about painting female figures. I attempted to apply some of what he went over in his video on this model, and while I still need a lot of practice, I definitely feel like it made a difference on this paint job. If you want to check out said video, I'll have a link for it in the description below as well. Alright, let's finish this mini. I want to dedicate this video to the boys and Sarah to celebrate all the good times we had playing World of Warcraft. Even though we're not as active on WoW and don't have as much time to play as we used to, I still really appreciate all the good times we spent exploring Azeroth. Guys, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe if you're not already. Also, if you found the video helpful or entertaining in any way, consider sharing with a friend. It really means a lot to small channels such as mine who are looking to grow in the community. That's it for now, and remember, stay messy.
I want to do it like I Love Lucy, like really stupid.
Do it like I Love Lucy. Do it real stupid.
Honey, did you get new minis?
Too stupid.